Greetings, friends. You are on the channel of Ruslan Belov. Today, we will discuss the situation in Ukraine as of March 13th, 2025. A tremendous number of events have occurred today, so let's get started. As per tradition, we will begin with the Kursk region, where the most intense combat operations are taking place. Additionally, Vladimir Putin has made a highly significant statement, requesting Valery Gerasimov to consider creating a buffer zone, a security zone along the Russian-Ukrainian border. Of course, this topic was immediately picked up by various bloggers, military experts, armchair analysts, and without exception, everyone began to speculate on this matter, assuming that when Putin spoke about a security zone, he primarily meant the area around the settlement of Sumy. That is, after the complete liberation of the entire Kursk region, the Russian army would inevitably move further towards the settlement of Sumy, thereby creating a security zone between Sumy and, let's say, the Kursk region. If you ask for my opinion, I think that the Russian side does not plan to create any serious security zone here. Perhaps Russian units will advance as far as the settlement of Yunakievka. The Russian army will approach Miropoliye, but the Russian side does not plan to move further, at least as I see and understand this entire situation. But again, of course, everything depends not only on understanding, but also on the resources available to each side. However, in any case, today there are already the first objective control footage confirming the presence of Russian units in the Sumy region. Partially, this security zone has already been created and is currently being established by the Russian army. In these frames, we can observe how Russian assault troops are already moving calmly and freely through the settlement of Basovka. Based on this objective control footage, today we are already marking at least 25% of the northwestern part of the settlement as under the control of Russian units. That is, there is already objective control footage confirming the penetration of individual Russian units deep into the Sumy region. At present, based on this map configuration, the distance between the forward positions of the Russian army in Basovka and the H07 highway, the supply route between the settlements of Sudzha and Sumy, is already less than 3.5 kilometers. In general, there is no longer any need to discuss whether the highway is under fire control or whether the Ukrainian army is encircled. This is already clear to everyone. This was also confirmed during a meeting at the Ministry of Defense, attended by President Vladimir Putin himself. This is the picture of the M07 highway. For every square meter, there are several units of destroyed Ukrainian equipment. If the Ukrainian armed forces are retreating, they are doing so solely on foot. Now, let's return to the line of contact and start again with the Sudzha direction, where the Russian army is rapidly advancing. As of the time we were preparing this video, there was no information about the complete clearing of the Sudzha agglomeration, but today information has been received from the Northern Group of Forces and the Russian Ministry of Defense that over the past day, Russian units have managed to clear settlements such as Melovoye, a small village located almost along the border with Ukraine, as well as the settlement of Podol, which is a small suburb of Sudzha. And there is also information about the complete clearing of Sudzha itself. A bit later, the Northern Group of Forces confirmed that during combat operations, the Ukrainian armed forces were pushed out from the direction of the settlement of Goncharovka. We expected that Goncharovka would be taken by Russian units last, but as you can see, we were mistaken here. At present, sporadic resistance is still present in the settlement of Zaporizhzhia, but it seems that literally, perhaps just before Putin's press conference, which is scheduled for today, or before the call, also possibly planned for 1 a.m. Moscow time between Trump and Putin, it will be announced that the Sudzha agglomeration, including Zaporizhzhia, has been completely cleared. So we expect that by tomorrow morning, Ukrainian positions here should, in theory, no longer exist. There's essentially nothing left to hold on to here. A large number of videos with various flags from different parts of the settlement of Sudzha are being published again. As we discussed earlier, the armed forces of the Russian Federation have entrenched themselves in the territory of Basovka. The neck of the already formed encirclement has narrowed by several more kilometers. Next, we move to the Kupiansk direction. A lot of news is also coming from here. The most important news is coming from the Lyman sector of the front, where, according to various mapping services, the armed forces of the Russian Federation have managed to significantly expand the control zone around western Novolyubovka. There is objective control footage showing 3 Russian soldiers moving through the territory of Novolyubovka, let's say in a westerly direction. Based on the footage, we are not marking anything, as the movement of Russian soldiers occurred at this point. But various cartographers are sure that the movement has extended far to the west, towards the settlements of Novoye and Katerinivka. Next, we move to the Chasiv Yar direction, Toretsk. Here, over the past day, Russian units in the northern part of the settlement have managed to push back Ukrainian positions. Ukrainian units were forced to retreat after a counterattack that took place last week and the beginning of this week. The Ukrainian side has published objective control footage showing strikes on the forward positions of the Russian army in the northern and northwestern parts of the settlement of Toretsk. We have marked the disputed territories, which were previously noted by various mapping services as being under the control of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, UAF, and were established as such during the counterattack. Next, we move to the Pokrovsk direction. Here, there is complete silence, no movement. The main combat operations are unfolding in the territory of the settlement of Lisovka. This is a very problematic sector of the front. Yesterday, footage from the southwestern part was published, confirming the presence of Ukrainian units along Gorky Street. Today, footage has arrived confirming the presence of Russian units in this part of the settlement of Lisovka. Here, it seems, there is a head-on battle and complete chaos regarding positions, with control likely alternating between the opposing sides, let's say street by street. On the Bohatyr direction, there is a temporary pause. The Russian army is gradually leveling the positions of the UAF in the settlement of Bohatyr, possibly preparing the city for another assault operation. As a result of a strike, another temporary deployment point was destroyed. The South Donetsk direction remains unchanged. Next, we move to the Zaporizhzhia direction. From here, quite interesting and somewhat contradictory information is coming in. Just yesterday, footage and information about the clearing of the settlement of Piaty Katki were received. There was even a video with the Russian flag raised. Today, however, information has arrived that Russian units are already on the outskirts of the settlement of Mali Shcherbaki. Some pro-Russian cartographers are even making significant markings on the fields, and literally around the perimeter of Mali Shcherbaki, the first concentrations of Russian units have been detected. Perhaps in the near future, we will receive some objective control footage confirming this information. Perhaps the Ministry of Defense will confirm this information, but overall, if we summarize all the information currently available in the public domain, approximately all these territories, let's say, within this red line, are already under the control of Russian units. That is, there has been quite significant progress, the goal of which is to cut off logistics between Orikhiv and Kupiansk. Perhaps something is being planned in this sector of the front as well.